revision. What did we cover last time? I've asked a few people to help me, but many of them are actually having trouble with because they are driving or moving in a matatu or somewhere. So I realize it's quite a challenge. But Kelvin, I think you have said you are not available. What about Samson? Samson, we are listening. Samson, unmute. Where are you, Samson? Or you are not in a place to say something? Okay. And Kevin Omodi, I think, has the same problem. Anastasia, will you talk?
Yes, sir.
Go right ahead. I know you are normally my backup.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yes.
Last week we learned about a leader needs discernment, an overview of discernment, and it was mainly based on 1 Samuel 23. And my take home was, if I have discernment, I cannot lose direction. I am able to make wise decisions, and I cannot be easily manipulated. And therefore, what I really need is godly discernment. As much as I have a network of friends who are helping me with information to assist me to make decisions, I also have to understand that my enemy also has a network of friends on his side. Therefore, what can stand out is godly discernment. And that's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else who wants to add to what Anastasia has said? What do you remember of last week on discernment? Anybody else?
Good evening.
Go right ahead. I think there are two people, one at a time.
Okay, my take home from last week Bertrand's class on discernment is that even with the godly discernment, you need to know that even if God is on your side, it does not mean that you not meet danger. And even in the danger, the enemy can know about your move and also want to attack you. But when you're with God, you'll outsmart your enemy at any given opportunity.
Thank you.
He wants to yeah.
That's very good. And the other one?
Okay, mine, last week, thank you for the opportunity and truth. Last week, my take home was, I should never act in desperation. As long as God is on my side, I should always make sound decisions.
Amen. Today we change subject and talk about something called the platinum rule. The platinum rule is in line with the golden rule. The golden rule, which is what Jesus taught, is that you do unto others what you'd wish them to do to you. Scratch my back and I scratch your back. The platinum rule is different. The platinum rule is you do good to your enemies. People who do wrong to you. In return, you don't do wrong. You do good. A leader must love and be fair even to his enemies. That means you can see clearly that the way they are treating you is bad, but you go above it. So it means that there will be no revenge if you are in this area. And it's a very important subject for leaders. Because any leader who is always fighting small battles, all kinds of battles, oh, he talked about me. They were discussing me. and you end up carrying every fight, every direction, 3 things will go wrong. Number 1, you will become pretty unpopular. Number 2, sometimes you assume people are doing wrong when they are not, but because you are very suspicious, you end up putting people in, and again, it will affect your relationships. But most importantly, if you actually become somebody who is always revenging, an eye for an eye left the whole world blind. And it's not biblical. It's not a Christian thing to be revengeful. And that's what we learn from 1 Samuel chapter 24 in the life of King David. Verse 1 says, after Saul returned from pursuing the Philistines, he was told, David is in the desert of En-Gedi. So Saul took 3,000 able young men from all Israel and set out to look for David and his men near the crags of the wild goats. He wants to be personally, this man wants to be personally in charge of capturing David. And David is just a small boy. Imagine he's still a teenager. Can you imagine a whole army set out to capture David and his 600 men? What could that do if it was you? When you know a whole commander-in-chief is on your case. You would not sleep at night. You would be in a lot of trouble. But not David. Because David knew the enemy is not just against small David. The enemy is against the God in David. And I think that's a very important thing to understand, that when Paul says, it is not I that lives, but Christ that lives in me, it means whoever chooses to be your enemy is choosing to be an enemy of God. And that will give you the energy to not bother with enemies. Because they think they'll finish you. But you realize, if it's me, they can finish. But if God is on my side, he that is in me is greater than he that is within them. So you know ultimately you will win. And so you don't spend sleepless nights despite the enemy. Because you are aware that God will handle him. And I think that's a very, very important thing for us to, as we deal with our leadership roles, because obviously those things will come. People gang up and try to be difficult to you. Remember, whoever is attacking you is attacking the Lord in you. You know, he said in the Old Testament, we are the apple, Israel, but now we are the new Israel. We are the apple of God's eye. Can you imagine anything ever touching the apple without the person knowing? Never. Just try to put even your own finger near, and the eyes will automatically close. If you are the apple of God's eye, it means you can lead with confidence that God will watch your back, like you have been saying. And I think that's important to understand, because like David, we may face formidable enemies. Verse 3, he came to the sheep pens along the way. A cave was there, and Saul went in to relieve himself. David and his men were far back in the cave. The men said, this is the day the Lord spoke of when he said to you, I'll give your enemy into your hands for you to deal with him as you wish. Then David crept up and noticed and cut off a corner of Saul's robe. What an opportunity to be a murderer. But David was not about to become a murderer. Now, if you are a good leader, you should not be wishing evil on your enemy. So in the process, every chance you have to do him in, you do it. Sometimes when people write stories of what you have done, your name will be totally destroyed because of being petty and following people on very small issues. Let's come out clear. Opportunity to do evil is not instruction to do evil. Do you know, how could God bring him to me? It must be he wanted me to kill him. Or a girl comes to you and your parents are not in, everyone is not there, and she comes with a short dress, and you say, surely, how did she end up here at this time? You start rationalizing that since she is here, anybody can understand. She brought herself. No. Opportunity to do evil is not instruction to do evil. And every leader must know that even if your enemy is at your mercy, do not use the opportunity to destroy him. Verse 5. Afterward, David was conscience-stricken for having cut off a corner of his robe. He said to his men, "The Lord forbade that you should do such a thing to my master, the Lord's anointed, or lay my hand on him, for he is the anointed of the Lord." You know, here is his boss. He has cut off a piece of his cloth without the boss knowing. That's the king. Obviously, you can't go to relieve yourself with your bodyguard. You want to be alone. But then the bodyguard did not know that he was taking a risk to be killed. But please note, David is conscience-stricken. He is bothered by his conscience simply because he had done that. He has not killed him. He just cut the end. You know, doing wrong to an enemy is still a sin. Of course, the rationalization is, but he's your enemy, but he wants to kill you. Do not do wrong and say it's okay because after all, he is also wrong. Two wrongs don't make a right. You can imagine what kind of leaders would be if you operated under the platinum rule, where you want to do good even to those who are doing evil. Do not do a sin just because the person is an enemy. You destroy them. You do wrong. God will hold you accountable. Verse 7. With these words, David sharply rebuked his men and did not allow them to attack Saul. And Saul left the cave and went his way. You know, the people are saying, no, kill him. It's time to sort this guy out. He has been giving you a lot of trouble. And anyway, God is the one who has brought him to you. You know, the point they had is, David did not have to kill him. They themselves would kill him. But he did not allow them. He did not allow them to attack Saul. What is that teaching us? Outsourcing wrong things will not transfer the sin from you. If, for example, you want your dirty work, and many bosses are like that, they want their dirty work done, then they actually use one of the young men. They pay him well, but he does it. And anyway, if you go to a court of law, the guy will deny ever being involved in it. But God knows the truth. You outsourced evil. Similar in business, you hear of people who appoint corrupt clearing agents so that their goods will be cleared fast. They know they are paying more than the fees. They know the corruption is going on, but since you can't prove it, then they think they are not corrupt. Outsourcing corruption, outsourcing evil does not transfer the responsibility from you. God knows you are the one who came up with the idea. Oh, you tell some people to go and kill so and so. You are enemy. God knows you are behind the killing. And you'll be as much of a murderer as the people who are getting murdered. So you need to ask yourself, in which way do you get tempted to use your subordinate, to use people around you, to use your friends, to do evil, so that you remain looking clean? Operating at platinum level means you'll never be tempted to do that because you do not want to do evil, even to your enemies. And I think that will be something very important for you to think about. Outsourcing corruption. Outsourcing is most organizations, for example, there are things they don't employ people. Like maybe you ask a hotel to be bringing you tea at 10 o'clock. You have no employees of your own. So that's the way you have outsourced the service rather than rely on your own staff. That's the meaning of the word to outsource, is to ask somebody else to do something you could be doing yourself. So a lot of us outsource our evil, especially when you are senior. We ask others to do it so that they cannot be traced on us. Verse 8. Then David went out of the cave and called out to Saul, "My lord, the king." When Saul looked behind him, David bowed down and prostrated himself with his face to the ground. Hey, this is your enemy. But you are going flat. Yeah, he is the king. You are showing him respect. I think what he is teaching us is that even if the boss is your enemy, you must show him respect. Respect your leader even if they are actually evil. Of course, you can criticize their evil, but do so with a lot of respect. How do you expect to be respected yourself when you don't show respect to those above you? And you know, a lot of people are like that. They want to be respected, but they don't. But your staff can see that you don't show any respect, so you soon lose respect yourself. And I think that's something important. So can you see again the platinum rule? You are dealing with an evil person, but you don't want to disrespect him. But it doesn't mean that you do the evil yourself, but you, even if you are declining participating in it, you actually do so with a lot of respect. Verse 9, he said to Saul, why do you listen when men say David is bent on harming you? This day you have seen with your own eyes how the Lord delivered you into my hands in the cave. Some urged me to kill you, but I spared you. I said, I will not lay my hand on my Lord because he is the Lord's anointed. See, my father, look at this piece of your robe in my hand. I cut off the corner of your robe, but did not kill you. See that there is nothing in my hand. So, to indicate that I am guilty of wrongdoing or rebellion. I have not wronged you, but you are hunting me down to take my life. May the Lord judge between you and me, and may the Lord avenge the wrongs you have done to me. But my hand will not touch you. As the old saying goes, from evildoers come evil deeds. So my hand will not touch you. Wow, what a fantastic consideration for the enemy. It's the same as in Romans 12, verse 20. On the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. In doing this, you heap burning coals on his head. What will that do? He will finally melt. You know, when you show good to somebody doing evil, then he shows you evil again, you show him good. He goes home confused because he's trying to create an enmity and you're refusing to be the second part of the enmity. My friend, not taking revenge communicates love to the enemy. And that's one way of sorting out the enmity over time. Verse 14, against whom has the king of Israel come out? Who are you pursuing? A dead dog? A flea? May the Lord be our judge and decide between us. May he consider my cause and uphold it. May he vindicate me by delivering me from your hand. What is he really communicating? That although you are following me, the reason why you find it difficult to catch me, because you are not dealing with me, like we said in the introduction. You are dealing with God. Let your enemy know that they have to deal with God. You are not on your own. You are with God. And that's a very, very important thing to say. And you need to understand that's why you dare be good to enemies. By the way, in all this, I'm not suggesting that you allow people to do evil. I'm talking about personal enmity. But if somebody is breaking procedures or the law of the land, they'll be punished. But they will not be hated. You can punish somebody without hating them. You will not be rude to them. You will be nice to them, although they will still be punished. Let the guy undermining you know that he has to deal with God. And that's what David is doing in talking to the king. Verse 16, when David finished saying this, Saul asked, is that your voice, David, my son? And he wept aloud. Oh, the king is weeping. You are more righteous than I, he said. You have treated me well, but I have treated you badly. You have just now told me about the good you did to me. The Lord delivered me into your hands, but did not kill me. When a man finds his enemy, does he let him get away unharmed? May the Lord reward you well for the way you treated me today. I know that you will surely be king, and that the kingdom of Israel will be established in your hands. Even the king can realize he's not an average person. The average person will kill his enemy, but he does not treat him as an enemy, despite all the evil he has done to him. You know what we are learning? Love and care is the solution to any enmity. Continue to be good to your enemies, and you'll see your team will be more united. Verse 21. Now swear to me by the Lord that you will not kill off my descendants or wipe out my name from my father's family. So David gave his oath to Saul, then Saul returned home, but David and his men went up to the stronghold. So the hunt has been cut off. There's no more hunt. Why? The coal, loving the enemy is like coal. It has melted the king. And he has actually sorted himself. He's on his way back to Jerusalem. Help deal with the enemy's insecurity once you have God with confidence. In other words, maybe the reason why he was fighting is because he thinks that David is becoming popular, he can kill him. He gave assurance to the king that I'm not fighting you, I'm not following you, I will not kill you. And he felt, wow, why am I following this boy? And he went away. The same thing with your enemies at work or in your business or in your leadership. Learn to be good to them and you'll see them melt. Romans 12 we saw, you heap coals of fire on his head and it will melt the enmity. The Lord bless you. Let us be leaders who operate at this level. Not just the golden rule, but the platinum rule. Thank you very much. Back to the MC.